Lucky Slaven. That's something I used to hear when I was playing football for a living, normally from a fan of the other team as I tapped the ball into the back of the net from my usual distance of 6 yards out. But hey, 147 goals for the Boro can't all be down to luck. Although when you remember I had no pace, no right foot, and didn't understand the offside rule, perhaps the punter was right. Is it luck though, or being in the right place at the right time? Possibly it's a bit of both. All I know is that I've got a lot to be thankful for. I grew up as a kid from one of the toughest estates in Glasgow, avoiding the dough and the drugs, earning a living scoring goals, and then when my back gave in, swapped my boots for use my mouth to talk about my team, the Boro. I want to go back and see how it all came about from the streets of Castlemilk to scoring goals for the Boro. And do you know, despite all that, it's flashing my backside in Ben's window, it still gets talked about. Boy, there must be some oddballs out there. Anyhow, my story begins in Glasgow, city of culture and one of Europe's liveliest cities. But I was brought up about 10 minutes from the centre in Castlemilk, and what a difference, as it was one of the toughest estates in the city. This is where I was born and bred, a place called Castlemilk. It's Glasgow. It's a council estate, proud to come from it, good background. But this was my close number, they call it, tenement building, close number 4. That was my bedroom in the top floor there. But my abiding memory of living there, I had a good upbringing, but there used to be wooden palings along here. And gangs used to run down a Sunday. Up at the back here, there's a housing estate now, but it was just woodland. And after the nightclub on a Sunday night, say, the gangs used to run down and rip the wooden palings off the fence. And many a morning, a Monday morning, I got up and there'd be a pool of blood. But apart from that, always great. But there's one thing, after all these years, I've been away for years. I mean, this is the first time I've been back. I'm disappointed there's no plaque outside. I mean, Cloughie's got a plaque, hasn't he, in Middlesbrough? Then again, I suppose I wasn't that good. There was a time that me and my mates, it was the summer months, lovely nights, and we had a bad habit of jumping over people's hedging. You know, people like to look after their hedge in their garden. We didn't appreciate that at the time. And it was about 4 he started leaking these hedges here. And we landed in about the 4th hedge, and we actually landed in a hive of bees, and we were stung all over. I think that's the last time we ever done it. Couldn't sit down for a week. Here's where I used to get the bus, going to school. Sometimes I used to get thrown off, they'd say, you're too old, you're not at school, you're a man. As I say, we moved to here, and my parents' second house was along this road. I had a great upbringing, and that's down to 2 people, my man Da. Da was a delivery man for the co-op, and Ma was a tailoress. They kept me in the straight and narrow, and Da was a football fanatic. I even gave him the nickname Jock Stein, after the great Celtic boss. They still live in the same area, and I am always welcome back. You don't need dogs up here to watch your houses, you need lions. Hope it's no bad language. My early steps towards a career in football were taken at primary school. I spent too long staring out the window at the football pitch, not in my lessons. But if I had to pick a place where it began, it would be St Dominic's. Yeah, I remember this bit, and the classroom was right at the end, wasn't it?
It was.
16.
Room 16, you can actually look out the window straight out onto the pitch.
I mean, I've not been here for what, about 35 years or something.
A long time.
And everything's just the same.
Just the same?
These grills weren't on when I was here, were they?
A lot of windows get smashed and she left.
Oh, is that because
So
they're bad at shooting or vandalism?
No, well, no, say bad at shooting. Let's say we'll do vandalism, bad at shooting.
I should have worn my shoes when I played. So here it is. St Dominic's School. Doesn't look very big when you're older, does it? And there's the classroom that we were in. Used to sit and daydream. The teacher used to be getting us to do our lessons. I used to concentrate and looking to see who was playing in the football park. And many a time the teacher would pull my father in and say, he's not concentrating, he's not getting educated, he's more concerned about trying to play football or watching football. I think I made the right choice. Did you get that? Oh, what a goal! He's worse than Swatzer. That's a tenner. That's a tenner, though, you're right. Next one's 20. I'm going to start hitting that side and all, but it's just too obvious, isn't it? I mean, before I came to Middlesbrough, there used to be a bank over there where they're working away. There used to be a bank there. I used to run up and down it like 3 times a week to keep fit. I believe they're building a new school there. They didn't ball boys in my day. Cheers, Billy. Yes, mate! Hey, no good for the gear, look at that. Need to get some polish. I always wanted to score goals, but in those days I can't ever recall scoring a goal in either of them. I think the reason being I was left back. Can you believe that? Left back? Couldn't tackle it, didn't I? When I was brought up in Glasgow, it was ash pitches. It was either red ash or black ash, and if you slid into a tackle, you used to rip your whole thigh. But these days, getting like England, grass pitches. I think the kids are spoiled these days. From most parts of Castlemilk you can see the place where my love affair with football took hold. Celtic were the first team in Britain to win the European Cup, and I was one of the fans. The nickname for the ground is Paradise, and for a kid like me, that was about right. Well, coming from Glasgow, you're either a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan. I was a massive Celtic fan, and this is what they call paradise. My dad wasn't happy with me coming to Old Firm games because then, and I think even now, obviously there's a lot of bigotry in Glasgow, and my father didn't want me being part of that. I wasn't allowed to go to an Old Firm game up till I was about 18. When I was younger and I used to come to the games, it wasn't all seating. You know, I used to actually, it was a lot of terracing. My father used to stand away at the back of the terrace and down here, which they call the Rangers end. He used to put me down at the front, tell me to sit in the wall and say, don't move until after the game or I'll wring your neck. And he used to head back in and stand up the back with his mates. And I used to sit and eat my sweets because at 6, 7-year-old I didn't really know the game. And at the end of the game he'd come and collect me and head off, and I mean that was the start, 6, 7-year-old, and thereafter I was always a Celtic fan. What's the Celtic's dressing room? I mean, I have to be honest, this is the first team's dressing room. I think our training ground dressing room is far superior than this. Hey, I tell you what, here's a bit of mail. Roy Keane. Roy signed for Celtic. No doubt it'll be complimentary mail, or probably some fat check. There's a host for Roy Keane. They're all Roy Keanes, millions of them. That's just Roy Keane's alone, look. All for Roy Keane. That shows you how popular he is, and he's just turned up. I mean, his first game of the nightmare against Clyde, we get beat. The Empire Exhibition Cup, 1938. I don't know, I would have liked to have headed that. Great as it was watching the Hoops play, I wanted a career for myself. Otherwise, like many others, it could be a life signing on. So I decided I needed toughening up, and non-league club Glencairn was a place to do it. I was here a season, and after the opening 13 games, I was signed professionally by Morton, and then I continued to play that season. Then I joined up with Morton. I mean, it wasn't the greatest parts, but I remember a funny story. It was an FA Cup tie, and my father used to come and watch us. I didn't mind him coming watching as I got older, and he was standing over at the far side. And what had happened, unknown to my father, the game had actually kicked off at half-2. So when my father got here about 5-3, he looked at the team. I wasn't in the team. He looked at the bench. I wasn't in the bench. In fact, I'd been stretchered off. The lad had done me after 5 minutes. I think my dad went looking for the guy. But so you can see it's fairly run down there. I think it was fairly decent when I played here. I think the pitch is the same. But this is where you learn your good touch or a bad touch on parts like this and surfaces like this. For whatever reason though, my career didn't kick on, and after drifting around with Morton, Airdrie and Queen of the South, I was in limbo and in need of a break. In life you need a bit of luck. To make it sometimes you need to meet the right person at the right time. For me it was Andy Ritchie. Andy being a great player, a former Scottish Player of the Year, and obviously talented, but some also said a bit lazy, hence his nickname the Idol. but he was the guy who converted me into the striker's role at Albion Rovers, and I owe him for that big style. I recall when you asked me to come to Albion, you says, I want you to play in the role I played for Morton, which meant you played a lot of free role, didn't you? It was a lazy role, wasn't it?
I couldn't give a monkey's midfield role. That's what
right,
it was called.
Because you attacked, you didn't defend.
That's it. Well,
and you gave me that man.
Couldn't get back here.
And
I remember at the time when I looked through Berlin, goal scorers were few and far between in the Scottish Third Division at that time. And I remembered you as a young lad when we were down at Morton together.
Yeah.
And you were the best finisher at the club. I was the best player.
I never got a game.
But you were the best finisher. Right foot, left foot, whatever way, you scored goals at that time in the reserves, and you came into the first team, you scored goals as well. And that's a bad habit, that, as you well know. You've seen it all the years in the game. Scoring a goal will get you into a load of problems.
Yeah.
You know, because people expect a lot more from a guy that scores a goal. And I remember that day, you were actually laying slabs in the front garden up in your mum's house, not too far away from where we are just now.
That's why my back's probably like yours, yeah.
And I remember coming, you said you were going to come down here to the local junior team and play. I think you'd lost a bit of interest and a bit of heart to the whole thing. We had a wee chat, cup of tea, had a laugh, done all the bit. And then I'd said, if you don't like it, you can go back there and play at the local junior club. You come here and score goals and anything can happen. And probably it's about the only 1 or 2 or 3 times in my life I've been proved to be correct with anything I've had to say about the game.
And you got me the cheap, what was it, 70 quid a week I was on?
Yeah, I can't remember.
It may have been 25 quid a week, maybe that was with bonuses and stuff.
I remember giving you a couple of quid so you could go on holiday. I remember that, you never gave me it back.
I've got it, that's why I'm here today. Andy's a great guy, but his time spent with me at Rovers was short-lived. He was soon sacked, but I had to get on with my career at Clifton Hill, the home of Albion Rovers, then is now in Scotland's lowest division. When I first arrived here, I was here for 1 season, and this is where I got my big breakthrough. I scored 31 goals. I ended up Scotland's top goal scorer, beating guys like Charlie Nicholas, Brian McClare, and that was a great feat for me. And as I say, I got my big break and I ended up in England. I remember one day, one of the funniest stories was, I think we were playing Stenhousemuir, and it was a drab day. The mud was knee high, rain was coming down. There was only about 200 fans huddled underneath the main stand there. And after the game, I'd get a lot of mentions in the paper because I was going for this 30-goal target where you receive a trophy and a bottle of champagne. So I think a few of the people that was in the crowd that day knew me, or the sponsors knew me, and they'd voted me at the end of the game, man of the match. You come over the tannoy system, man of the match, Bernie Slaven, and I knew deep within I had an absolute nightmare. So as I'm going to get the award, and the award was 25 quid and a box of macaroon bars. Don't do much for your figure. And as I received it, there was Peter looking at the tannoy shouting, "You're effing joking, it was garbage." And looking back, you know, at the end of that season, obviously scored 31 goals. I was thinking there must be a host of clubs coming in for my signature. Unfortunately, I was away off the mark. I was wrong. In fact, Tom Fagan, who sadly since passed away, claimed there was nobody in for me, and he wanted me to return the following season, but I ended up in dispute. I was banned from training, had to train alone, and then there was a guy for the Weekly News in Glasgow, the newspaper. He phoned me up on a couple of occasions, and he started to put in the paper, why is Scotland's top scorer not got a club? Anyway, I took a shine to me after several headlines in the back pages. Nothing developed, and he came up with this idea, why don't you send letters to every club north and south of the border? And I have to be honest, first I wasn't in agreement with it. I thought, well, if I score 31 goals, I can't get a club, I'll hang my boots up. and that's what kind of guy I am. I would have hung my boots up. But he turned up this day, load of letters. They were all typed out, names, addresses, stamped envelopes, a lot. And he says, look, I just ask you, will you sign these? And I'll do the rest. And I felt obliged. And the rest history. I mean, the first club to reply was Middlesbrough. I got a host of knockbacks from like Chelsea, Brighton Hove Albion, Huddersfield. And in Glasgow or in Scotland, there was only one club replied. That was the thing that hurt me most. There was only one club that replied, obviously saying they weren't interested, which was Hearts. Nothing from Celtic, nothing from Aberdeen. The majority came from England. I moved to England, as I say, ended up with Middlesbrough, and for the first 4 years, I don't think I missed a game. I can't recall ever needing a rest, or needing a holiday, or feeling tired or fatigued. But as I say, 31 goals. I'd like to just put one in the back of the net for all time's sake. Oh, it's so run down. I mean, it's amazing that nothing's changed in 20 years. Everything's the same. I think they said a lick of paint, but I think that's about it. No, I look back and I think, did I really play here? So I was on my way to the Boro. Eventually Teesside would become home, but Glasgow was my first home and a bit of me remains there. To make it in football, sometimes you have to leave family and friends behind, but I was determined to give it a go. I class myself now as an adopted Teessider. I love the place, but back then when I arrived in the train for the first time, my heart sank. They say first impressions are the most important, but thankfully that's not true about me and the Boro, as my first impressions of the place were terrible. Everywhere I looked it seemed there were chemical plants belching out smoke and smog, and what I thought were Erson Park floodlights turned out to be lights from the local industry. I now know that Middlesbrough is a good town and the surrounding areas have some great countryside, but at the time as the train pulled into Middlesbrough station I felt uneasy, and that wasn't helped by no one from the club coming to meet me. Yeah, I remember getting off the train and come down these stairs and these lights weren't here, and it was dark, it was dingy. There was water coming down the walls, and I was standing here thinking, what on earth am I doing here? And I was actually approached by a couple of ladies in the night, thigh-length boots, a lot, and I thought, look, I told them, I said, I've got other things in my mind. However, Eric Paler from the Evening Gazette had done his homework. I was waiting for Boro's new signing. How did you get the tip off? Because I think the Gazette at the time were actually banned at the time. How did you get a tip off that I was arriving?
It came over the phone call from a freelance reporter in Scotland who said that the top goal scorer in the whole of Scotland, Bernie Slaven, was arriving at Middlesbrough station. He gave me the time of the train even, and said, you get down there, you'll be able to interview him. I thought, fantastic. I'm banned from the club, I'm not allowed to speak to the players, but he's a guy not actually under contract at the club yet, who I can go and talk to. So I was down here in a flash. You were brilliant to talk to initially. I mean, we knew each other.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
we had
I
this initial
respected
bond.
you, as a reporter.
Yeah. And one thing I used to find is, on the odd occasion when something went wrong, you may have been substituted, you may have been taken off early, whatever went wrong, I could always guarantee you'd be standing in the tunnel at Erson Park, waiting for me to come out. So we could have a bit of a chin wag.
I never held back, did I?
No, you didn't.
I mean, people think
never
now because I'm in the media and I've got an opinion, strong opinion sometimes. People think that is me now, but I was like that then, wasn't I?
No, yes, you've been like that all along, definitely. Forthright.
Future success was all a long way off though, and my first job was to make sure my Boro trial went well. They needed a striker big time, as the team had scored just 4 goals in the opening 9 games. But could I fit the bill? Well, first I had to learn a new language, English, and then do well in my outing with the reserves at Grimsby. I thought I did okay, and one of the guys in the team had gone to be my big mate, Gary Pallister, but at first I thought he was a bit of an oddball. I mean, we've been mates now 20 years, Pally, but looking back, We didn't get off to the best starts, did we? I mean, I remember looking at you in the bus my first time in Middlesbrough and thinking, I'd like to see the back of him, and the next minute I knew you had gone to Darlington. I was delighted.
Well, I never knew that really until I read your book and found
you
out
read?
you didn't like me. Amazingly so, yeah.
Obviously, you went to Man United, you did a great time at Man United, but you still look back in your early days at Middlesbrough. Those early days is some of the best days.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. We had a great bond, a lot of young lads, no great expectations. Obviously, after coming out of liquidation, and you know, I think everybody was fearing the worst for the club. But we had a lot of, you know, what I mean, even though we were young, we had a lot of talented players there. You know, we had Coops coming through, Rippers coming through. We had a great keeper in Stephen Pears, who was probably one of the best in the country. A great leader in Mogga. Not a bad goal scorer in
Archie Stevens. Oh, you're great, Archie.
We had this lad we brought in from Scotland from somewhere, you know.
What was your first impressions when I walked in? Because I had an old coat on. I think it cost me about £1 the coat. What was your first impressions? What did you think?
Yeah,
Seriously?
I think we all remember that coat. I think that herringbone coat. I think you mugged one of the down and outs at Middlesbrough Station when you came through.
Actually, I did, yeah.
And it's funny enough because I was round your house about 10 years after that. I remember seeing it in your wardrobe. And, no, I mean, first impression. I mean, nobody could understand you. You were so broad Scottish at the time, and you came into this dressing room, and I think if I remember, you were kind of a little bit took back by everything. I think you were a little bit nervous, maybe.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Of the lads and what you were coming into. But we soon found out you were a bit of a character, a little bit off the wall. And once we could understand you, I think you soon became part of the dressing room, didn't you?
Pally and I have reason to be grateful for Willie Madron being manager of Middlesbrough. Willie's an ex-centre-half himself, saw something in Pally and set him on his way to being an England international. As for me, Willie had faith that I could make it and was desperate to sign me, but Boro had no money. In my next trial game at Ayresome Park, I scored twice in a 4-0 win over Bradford. And unknown to me, Madron had ordered the security guard to lock the gates, making sure there were no scouts from other clubs outside. The haggling with Albion went long into the night, but eventually their chairman Tom Fagan accepted 25 grand. I was offered £300 a week, and I took it. A man who I refer to as the king of Teesside, Steve Gibson, had played a crucial role in me becoming a Boro player.
I'd meet with Willie a couple of times a week and we'd have a workout, and Willie said, I need some help. He said the chairman was a guy called Alf Duffield who worked very hard for the club. He said, we've got to take this guy. We've got to get Bernie Slaven into our football club. But I've spoken to the chairman and there's no money. I said, well, the chairman's away. He said, so what you saying? I said, well, chairman's away. And if the chairman's away, he can't make a decision, can he? So let's make the decision between ourselves. And if you're so sure, let's do everything we can to get Bernie to the club. And we ended up, I think the fee was 35 grand.
Are we still paying it?
And a couple of bottles of scotch for your ex-chairman.
But after my first season, did you think, well, that's another 25 grand down the Swanee? I mean, the first season I struggled with the team. Did you think, oh, wasted money, or? You see what you liked.
I think I felt that every season. No, I think we all knew that even in that first season that it was going to take time for you to adjust to being a full-time professional footballer. And I think everybody who came thought, wow, that looks like he can play. And I think once we got the first season, it was a very difficult season for everyone. But I remember speaking to Bruce Rioch, and Bruce thought that providing he could get some discipline into you and teach you the offside rule, you'd be okay.
He never taught me that. My Boro career got off to a great start, scoring in my home debut against Bradford. But the team was in free fall, and despite his best efforts, Willie Madron lost his job in February 1986, and on the final day of the season, defeated Shrewsbury sent us down. Looking back at my Boro career, the summer of 1986 was definitely the most stressful. Middlesbrough had gone into liquidation. A year after coming from Albion, it was unclear if I would have a job. Bruce Rioch had taken over from Willie Madron. Bruce was a disciplinarian of the old school, But just as Gibble was working with the consortium to save the club, on the pitch Raich was keep the players together. Without Bruce, I wouldn't have been half the player. I am convinced the club might have folded without him. I dedicated my book Legend to him, and even now he is still in love with the game, managing Odense in Denmark. I just had to get across to see him. We're early, ain't we? You always told us the early bird catches the worm. How you doing? All right? How you feeling? Good? It was great to meet my old boss again. And do you know what? He's mellowed.
Last time you and I talked about an aeroplane,
That's right, I done a bump.
you went back to Middlesbrough. we went to Bermuda. We went to Bermuda.
That's right.
Unbelievable. How did you miss
I was going to
Bermuda?
ask you
And
about that.
now you come to Denmark instead.
So Bruce, when you first took over the reins at Middlesbrough, I have to be honest, I thought my days are numbered as a player, because I knew you as a kid. I used to look at you as a tough tackling midfielder. I was fairly lightweight, couldn't tackle a dinner, and I thought, oh, Bruce will have me off. But amazingly, you didn't. You kept me.
To be quite honest, you don't get rid of the goal scorers, do you, Birdie? Be fair. I mean, be fair. I mean, you have to put up with some players and tolerate them a bit more than others, and I didn't have to tolerate you, for goodness sake. For goodness sake. But, no, seriously, you don't get rid of goal scorers. I mean, it's the hardest job in the game, and I'm saying to the boys here in Odense, the most difficult part of the game is to score goals. I mean, we can defend, we can tackle, we can head, we can jump, but putting the ball in the back of the net is the toughest part, and you don't get rid of goal scorers.
I think you used to wind me up to a degree. You used to say, you scored a few goals, but you're a homer. You always score at home. And I would maybe start to score goals away from home. And then you would say, yeah, but you're a tap-in merchant. You don't score 20-yard shots.
You couldn't see the goal at 20 yards, man. That's why. Actually, the only thing, if I said that to you, it's because Toddy told me to say it to you, and I'm blaming Toddy. So yeah, no, you don't get rid of a goal scorer. You know a goal scorer. But I think at some stages, I think that was me being a young coach, young manager. I remember the one day at Longlands College, we were there, I think it was on a Friday, Thursday or Friday, and the players, we were in liquidation, and the players were messing around on the training ground at Longlands. And I think I stopped the training, and I basically said, I'm off. And I went home in the car to Birmingham, because I was living in Diggs at the time.
Yeah, you were.
And I went home to Birmingham, and I said I didn't like the attitude of the team on this particular day, and I went home to Birmingham. And then all you guys got together and trained over the weekend together.
Yeah, I think
And when I came back on the Monday, I heard that, and I thought, we've got a spirit here, we've got a team here. A good friend of mine said to me probably 3 or 4 months ago, he said, you know, Bruce, when you look back on the team that you had at Boro, he said, not one of those players has ever been in trouble.
Good point.
Good point.
That's including me.
Including you, but a good point, meaning they weren't in trouble on the pitch, really.
That's right.
And they were never in trouble off the pitch. And I think that we had a great group of young players who I could influence at that early stage, and I think they were magnificent.
How would you sum up our relationship?
Our relationship.
Manager, player. I want the truth.
Okay, manager, player. I would say good. I would say, did I get the best out of you? Yeah. Did I cause you some problems? Yes. Did you cause me some problems? Some. Not really. Did you work hard? Yeah. Could you score goals? Yeah. Did you improve? Yes. Do we still have a good relationship? Yes. Have I been good for you? You can answer that question. Have you been good for me? Yes. And I think when you have that with players, if you have that with players, then I think you've been successful with the players.
Obviously over the years we've had our highs, had our lows. Well, the last couple of months I've brought out this hardback autobiography, Bruce, and I've actually dedicated it to you.
Oh, you're a gentleman.
So there you go, you can put it in the fire or
No, you
put it
must
under the
be
bed if you've got a
kidding.
loose leg.
This is priceless. No, this is priceless. I really appreciate this. This
Yeah.
is really, really priceless. Bernie, I have great memories of you. I don't have any bad memories, ever. You'll have your memories of me, as will the other boys, but we'll still have the great memories of the friendships and of the times that we shared together. And we had some unbelievable
we did.
good times together. Actually, we had more good times than we had indifferent.
We had no money, but we had some good times.
We had some great times. It's a
Thank you
pleasure
very
to
much.
see you.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you, my friend. See you.
Cheers.